Welcome back to another open-minded podcast, baby. Today's a special one, man. As always, we got my co-host Timoteo.
What's good with you?
And today we got a special guest, man. That boy Eli.
What's up? What's up?
You wanna introduce yourself, bro? What you do? Where you from? All that good stuff.
My name's Eli. Well, my name's Elias, but I go by Eli. I'm actually from here, from Southern Missouri County.
Shout out B County, baby.
Yes, sir. So I work in EMS. I work here at a local 911 system, a local agency. I can't really specify which one I work for, so anything I say today is not representing where I work, but I'm just kind of representing EMS as a whole and myself. So
what does EMS stand for?
So EMS is Emergency Medical Services. A lot of people think that we're just like the ambulance drivers, essentially, but we do a lot more than just drive an ambulance.
So is there a difference between like EMS and paramedic? Is that the same thing?
So EMS is like the branch. So you have EMS and then you have different positions in EMS. There's different levels of certification, different levels of education, anywhere from what we call an EMR, which is emergency medical responder, all the way up to paramedic. And they kind of have like the highest education. There's doctors and PAs and stuff that also can study EMS. So a lot of it is basically pre-hospital medicine. And like I said, the different levels are the different levels of education. You have EMR, EMT, advanced EMT, which is what I am right now. And then you have paramedic, which is what I'm going to school for currently. And I should be done in September. But it's a lot of school.
How long does it take to get into the entry level position?
So the entry level position, the EMR position, typically it's only like a 2-week program. That's basically like your first aid person. Takes about 2 to 4 weeks. It's like 50 hours of in-class time. It's not too bad. There's not a lot of jobs that you can get as an EMR. Typically it's like for people who work at the plants and stuff that want to have like a kind of like a base knowledge of what it's like to be like a first responder kind of thing. Yeah. A lot of police officers, a lot of firefighters, they have their EMR. A lot, so it's kind of like a base level. Yeah. EMT now, that's kind of like our first actual like working on an ambulance level. That's like 120 hours, like a semester of school.
So it's a lot of studying is what I'm hearing. A lot of studying.
It's a lot of studying. Yeah. I mean, and then you go all the way up to paramedic and it's like, yeah. So then you get up to the paramedic level and that's like over 1,500 hours, like 2 years worth of school. So.
And how much of it do you like study and then like you just kind of don't even use it or you don't remember it?
So.
Or is it you got to remember it all?
So you got to remember it all. I remember being in class and I asked this question. I said, I told my instructor, I was like, hey, what do I have to remember? Like, what's the important part? You know, like, this is a lot of shit. Mm-hmm. You know, what do I have to remember? And he's like, all of it. All of it's important, you know?
So it's not a class you can just mess around in.
Nah, bro. I mean, if you think about it, you know, let's say your family's having an emergency. Your mom or your dad is having the worst day of their life. They're either really hurt or really sick. Do you want someone who made a 70 in class to come take care of your parents?
You want somebody who's passed. Yeah.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? And that's what my instructor told me when I was doing my EMT class. You know, he goes, you know, this program, you have to make an 80 or higher to pass. He was like, but I think that's bullshit. He was like, I think you need to make 100 to finish this class. He was like, because, you know, if someone comes to take care of your mom or dad or loved one, do you want them to be someone who made an 80 in class?
Yeah, you don't want somebody who just, you know, just got by barely or just barely just swung by.
Exactly. So it's really rigorous. It's really, like, strict. There's a lot of, like, the class part. I mean, it's kind of like with nursing and doctors and everything, you know, like, there's like the in-class things and then there's like laws and stuff, you know, like, I mean, they have to report everything to the state. The state gets all your information, makes sure that you were properly trained and stuff like that before you even get your license to practice. So it's pretty strict. And even when you do get your license to practice, if you want to go work for an EMS system or an agency, each agency has something called a medical director. And that medical director is a doctor. And they are in charge of all the medicine that we practice, all of our skills. So we technically work underneath that medical director. And so we do something called an FTO period where we get paired with the field training officer and they make sure that we know everything that we're supposed to know. And then that medical director, that doctor comes and basically signs off saying, hey, this guy can basically do things under my name. Like he's working for like he's working for me essentially, you know, and I am signing saying that he's capable and competent enough to work for me and practice under my scope of practice. A lot of the things that we do in EMS are we don't have a doctor with us. We're not like in the ER where, you know, the doctor's sitting in their office or at the nurse's station or whatever.
So you're just kind of like on your own, right?
Basically, it's me.
Learn like just as much as like a doctor would need to know, right?
I mean, it's arguable, right? Like I will say, a doctor did go to medical school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some people call us ditch doctors. I don't know how I really feel about that. You know, sometimes I'm like, I basically am a ditch doctor, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not a doctor. Like, I didn't go to freaking med school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's probably a lot more school for doctor, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's like 8 years, you know, plus your residency and all this other
Is
stuff.
that like the end goal for a paramedic, like to be a doctor? Is there
So
like a
not for
certain level
everyone. My end goal is to be like a PA, which is like a physician assistant. They're trying to change it now to physician associate, so it doesn't sound so like, oh, you're an assistant, you know. But
Is it like from where you're at right now? Is there still a lot of more things you need to achieve till you get to where you want to be at?
so we're
like levels,
like personally.
yeah, or like level wise, like move up and rank to where you want to be, or you can just go straight from where you're at up to PA.
So
if you go to school,
where I'm at myself, I'm gonna finish this paramedic program, like I said, in September, right? Just and the paramedic program is intense, dude. It's very rigorous. It is, you know, you have all this in-class time, plus you have to do what we call clinicals, which is like going to like a hospital and doing your rotations in the hospital, whether that be whatever your program requires.
so
but
like hands-on.
hands-on, it's like working in the ER, and I say working because you're basically working for free, but you know,
You don't get paid much for that.
you don't get paid at all.
Oh wait, for clinicals?
Clinicals, you don't get paid.
Yeah, you lost me there. If I'm not making money on this,
Yeah, you don't
Hey,
get paid for clinicals.
this is
though.
something you love though, so that's why. It's something I like.
You don't get paid for clinicals, and you don't. And as a doctor, for your internship, I'm not 100% certain. All I know is that residents and, you know, fellows, they don't make a lot of money either. It's not until you finish and you become an attending physician that you start making the bank, right? And, you know, it pays off. It pays off. But yes, it is a lot of hours that you're basically working for free. You have to do your clinical hours, which is like in the hospital, whether it be in the operating room, in the labor and delivery area of the hospital where you're delivering babies. It could be in the med surge, ICU, ER, wherever. Plus, you have to do something called in-field internship, which is where you're actually going to whatever agencies around your area that are like with the college to go basically work on an ambulance and practice those skills. And then you have to do something called capstone. And capstone is, again, you're working on an ambulance, but you get a dedicated preceptor, and the dedicated preceptor overlooks everything that you're doing and saying to the patient. And basically their job is to make sure that you know what you're doing, you know, that you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, you know how to treat a patient. And they're basically kind of stepping back, giving you the reins and saying, you're the paramedic, you're the lead paramedic, you're making all the decisions. I'm basically just here to make sure you don't mess something up really, really bad.
So what got you into all this?
Yeah, what was your inspiration?
Because it wasn't just like overnight. Like you didn't just wake up one day and be like, I want to be this. Or
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a couple steps to it. I worked with Tim at MSR.
Oh yeah, that was a fun time.
It was a racetrack here locally. And,
He saved a lot of lives, by the way. He saved a bunch of lives. His like first week, he
my
saved
first
some
week.
lady's life. Not really, but
Yeah.
kind of helped her. And what happened to her? She like got dehydrated, I guess.
Yeah, she just like passed out.
She should
And
drink some water.
at the time, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I had an idea what I was doing. I had my little first aid card, and I was like, yeah, you know, I got this. But now that I look back, I'm like, man, you know, so.
You could have done things differently, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. So working at MSR, you know, we got to see a lot of people. It's hot out there, you know, get dehydrated. Of course, it's a racetrack. There's wrecks, and sometimes there'd be wrecks where life flight would show up. You know,
Especially the motorcycles.
the
Motorcycles are
days,
the worst.
Yeah, motorcycle days.
Wait, is that what you were doing at MSR? Or were
So
you
at
just like
MSR, I was just working at the go-kart track.
Oh, okay.
But I would see like the big boy track, is what we'd call it, right? Where the actual motorcycles and race cars are at, they would crash. Sometimes it'd be bad enough to where they're landing a helicopter on the dang racetrack.
Sometimes 3.
sometimes 3.
Yeah.
And I would look at the racetrack and I'm like, hey, those guys are kind of cool, jumping out of the helicopter, you know, with their little flight suits on. And I was like, hey, those guys are kind of cool. I kind of want to be one of those guys. Like, and I started asking around, I'm like, what is that? Like, what job is that? You know, they're like, oh, they're paramedics. And I'm like, it's interesting, right?
Is there like different training to get on the helicopter besides like
Yes,
ambulance?
and I'll go into that because it's not a lot more, but it is a lot more. So, what's it called? So then that kind of got my mind going. You know, like those guys are kind of cool. Kind of want to do that. You know, they're there for these like really bad injuries and on probably what's their worst day of their life. You know, and they're helping them out. They're getting them where they need to go.
Yeah, because if life flights come, it's usually pretty bad.
Yeah, So I just kind of kept it in the back of my mind at the time. You know, MSR was just a part-time job. I was working at a franchise as a manager of certain restaurants and stuff like that. And around that time, COVID was starting to hit. My uncle, he lived with us. He got really sick, right? I had no medical training whatsoever. Sadly, he passed away at home. And he was.
Hear that, by the way.
It's all good, but COVID took a lot of our loved ones away. A lot of people think it's a joke. I don't think so because it personally affected my family and my household.
Mm-hmm.
I had to see the progression of someone catch it to getting sick to getting very, very sick to getting intubated and, you know, being in the ICU for over a month intubated, and, you know, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I remember the day, the whole morning. My mom found him in his room, very, very sick. We called 911. We called for an ambulance, you know, because we didn't know what else to do. I mean, he's dying.
Yeah, it's like who else do you call? I mean,
Who else
they
do
know.
I call? I remember the paramedics showing up, and he was diabetic, and he had to take insulin, right? And I knew he took insulin because I would help him sometimes. He'd be like, hey, grab my insulin. And I'd go grab it for him. And I remember the days prior to that, he was, you know, like I said, very sick, and he was like not making it to the restroom. He was really weak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't make it to the restroom. So we would go in there. I was sick with COVID too, so I didn't really care about catching it because I was already sick. I'd go in there, help him clean up, whatever. And he wasn't very old. He was in his 50s. And I remember the paramedic getting there, and he goes, is he diabetic? And I was like, yes, he's diabetic. And, you know, I'm answering the questions because my family's Hispanic, and the rest of my family there didn't know a lot of English.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, okay, does he take insulin? And I was like, oh, yeah, he does. He goes, when was the last time he took his insulin? And I'm like, and that moment my heart dropped. I was like, you know, he can't even make it to the restroom. What makes me think he's going to be able to make it all the way to the kitchen
To
grab
take his insulin?
to take his insulin? And I was like, so I felt guilty.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that was like my best homie, basically, you know. And I knew he took his insulin, and I didn't, you know, I didn't remember. So anyways, I was like, man. So I was like, I'm going to go to EMT school. Like, I need to help people. You know, I wasn't able to help my uncle. And it wasn't until I got into EMT school, which again is like one of the lowest level trainings, and the real basics of EMT school, we start talking about all these diseases and sicknesses and injuries. And I started looking back at my uncle, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, if I would have known this stuff,
You could have done things differently.
I would
and
have
helped.
called 911. I would have done things differently way before it got to this point. But, you know, as a regular, I guess you could say, citizen or person just in this country, this area, whatever you want to call it, we don't get a lot of medical knowledge, you know. Do you know what the regular blood pressure is for a regular person?
No,
right?
120 over 80.
That's good. He does
Yeah, you
know.
know it?
What's a regular blood sugar for a person?
Where's Google at?
80.
Good.
That's right?
Yeah, 80 to 120. Yeah, that's
You're
good.
certified.
You're certified. You're an EMT now. Good job.
So if I start dying right now, one day during the pod, you better help me.
There you go. Perfect. So, you know, there's all these basic little things that I'm like, man, you know, I didn't know these things, and a lot of people don't know what these things are, and I don't know what the signs and symptoms for these really bad illnesses and diseases are. And maybe, you know, and I have an elderly grandma. She's like 96.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know what to look for, you know, and at least I can help my family, and hopefully I look forward to helping other people's families. So, That's kind of why.
Especially like when you're out somewhere, say something's to happen, you can always help and do more.
Does that never happen? Like just out in public?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I remember being at a club or whatever in Houston, and I remember some guy just having like a seizure. He just like passed out and started having a seizure. And so like, I just started providing what I could, the aid that I could, And obviously, I don't have all my equipment. I did bring some of my favorite equipment with me. But
we're gonna demonstrate one of them on Eddie.
Yeah, I brought some stuff, but I had a somewhat idea of what was going on with this guy. So I got to ask the questions, and so when the paramedics showed up, I gave them what we call a report. Like, hey, this is what I saw. This is what the information I've gathered so far, and that kind of helps reduce the amount of time that they have to spend gathering that information as well and start treating the patient quicker.
When you're off duty, is there like certain things you can and can't do?
Yes. So it depends where you work. But I know where I work, and I'm not 100% certain about certain things, but I know we're licensed under like the agency that you work for, but you're certified by the state. So we have something called like the Good Samaritan law, right? And so that allows us to provide basically like basic life support, CPR, mouth to mouth, which is not really used anymore.
Oh, I think we need some. Eddie, lay down.
Is there a reason why that's not used no more?
Is it like some type of like sanitary stuff or
a little
anything?
bit of sanitary, yeah.
COVID.
Yeah, and they've also found some like data where just doing compressions and not wasting time by going to give those 2 rescue breaths actually reduces mortality rate. So they've realized that just doing the compressions has a higher probability of bringing that person back, essentially. And just kind of like wait till EMS kind of shows up and they have more equipment that
and I see
provide better care.
Do y'all have? I don't know if it's like all EMTs have it, but like for ambulances, I see y'all have that machine y'all put now where it's doing like the
we have CPR
machines.
Yeah, those are awesome.
CPR for you?
Yeah, like we'll have a picture of it here, so if anybody don't know what I'm talking about.
Yes. So there's different ones. The one that a lot of people are turning to is called the Lucas device.
Shout out Lucas.
Yeah, shout out Lucas. I wish I would have invented it. I know they make a lot of money. It's this company called Stryker. That's like the brand, but the device is called the Lucas device. I wish I would have invented it. Lots of money. It looks really simple, but basically it's like this plunger that we place on the patient. It has to be very specific, how we place it, where we place it. And it has to be certain patients. You can't just throw it on anyone. But it does compressions for us. And it's nice because it keeps that steady rate and steady depth, which are like the important things. It also allows for recoil of the chest.
And I'm pretty sure it allows y'all to, like, while it's doing the compressions, y'all are able to work on other stuff and check other things. And instead of trying to work on doing compressions, doing this, checking that.
100%. That's 100% right. Like we, what's called, it allows us, to. Good job. You're an EMT now.
I watch a lot of, I watch a lot of, was it Live Rescue?
Live Rescue?
I'm basically certified,
You're certified.
And Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy.
I'm basically a doctor.
It's a show
so if anybody ever needs a doctor, just call me. I charge like $100 an hour.
Perfect. But yeah, it allows us to, just kind of
just give me my money.
Let us take care of other things, So that's kind of nice.
Basically everything leads back for you starting it is your uncle and your family.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Just taking care of my family.
Was it kind of like the guilt of like not thinking that you provided enough?
Yeah, basically. And I was like, you know what? I don't want that to ever happen again at home. Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to go to class for it.
And it really has to be something. It has to be something you really like, probably, huh?
Oh,
it can't
absolutely.
just be like, hey,
it's a tough
you don't
job.
You don't get in it for the money, right?
No, we don't. We do not get paid a lot.
So you first get in. What are you starting off with?
So
like range. You don't have to be exact, but
range. So I've seen, as a regular EMT, I've seen people get paid anywhere from like $12 to $17 an hour. Up to paramedic, I've seen people get paid anywhere from $20 to the $30 an hour starting. So it's a large range. Again,
what's boss man making?
Sheesh. So we have like our paramedics and stuff, and the way a lot of EMS agencies are set up is kind of like paramilitary style. So we have like our lieutenants, and then we have our captains, and then chiefs.
Oh, I know yours is making some bank. So what would that be? Your chief or
Yeah,
the one?
So the highest where I work, we have what we call a chief.
Yeah, he has a TRX, by the way, if anybody wants to know.
Yeah, so one of our chiefs does have a TRX. Yes. Ooh. Nice trike, very nice trike.
What is the process of ranking up? How do you like?
It's just time. It's experience. It's time, education. You know, I know that our chief, like our head chief, he has like a master's degree.
A lot of school,
a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. You know, he's been doing this.
What's the next rank for you?
My next rank, like I said, paramedic. And I'll just be working on an ambulance as the lead provider for.
So you just get that like call to the back, and he's like, "Congratulations, you're a paramedic now."
Basically, yeah.
Congratulations, you're a paramedic. I certified you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
You get a lot of like crazy calls. How do you handle that?
Like mentally.
Yeah.
So,
it's gotta eat you up
mental
sometimes.
health. Well, I'm drinking some water.
Is it mental health month? Is it man's mental health month? I think so. I could be wrong.
Is it?
I think
Pride
so.
Month.
Let's
That's all you. That's all you, buddy.
It's also last week was EMS week.
Oh yeah! Shout out to
all the
EMS.
EMS workers, man.
Yes.
Not all heroes wear capes.
Not all heroes wear capes. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, you were talking about mentally.
Yeah. So mental health, you know,
to?
and that's a big part of our classroom education. We go through like a whole couple of days of talking about mental health because a lot of the stuff that we deal with and see is, you know, it's kind of heavy. It's we're, like I said, we're usually there for these people's worst day of their lives, you know, and sometimes it might not even be the patient's worst day, but the family's worst day. And, you know, you take a lot of that stuff and it sticks with you, you know. So we learn a lot of ways to cope, we have resources. Personally, I have like a therapist that I talk to every week or every other week now. So I'm doing good. So talk to her every other week. And we talk about, you know, what I see, what I deal with. And she just kind of helps me find ways to kind of cope and, be able to live a normal life.
Do you see a lot of people like in your branch and surrounding branches also going to get like therapy also, or you don't really talk about it?
It's common, and
I feel like
I'm glad we're moving towards that direction. It used to be where, you know, therapy was like for the weak-minded,
or frowned upon,
or it's like, oh, you can't take it, get out of here.
And especially with a job like that, I feel like you need to do it. It's a major thing. It's like a requirement. I feel like you should have.
Absolutely, and you know, EMS, we have one of the highest burnout rates. We have one of the highest suicide rates due to job in the country.
I can just imagine the things y'all see.
Yeah, people kill themselves. Like, it's bad, you know. And I've seen it firsthand. Not anyone kill themselves, but I've seen firsthand EMS workers have these mental breakdowns. And it's bad. It's sad, you know. But like I said, we have resources. Some people will just try to just tough it through it. You know, I'm open to the resources. I get the help that I need. Luckily, I have a girlfriend that is also an EMS worker, so it's kind of nice to be able to kind of vent to her about stuff that I saw or stuff that I experienced, because she gets it.
Yeah, y'all can relate to a lot of things. We can relate to
stuff.
It's like when a couple is together that they're not in the same type of field, it's like they don't understand it unless you are there experiencing it.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, some couples prefer it that way. Personally, I see the benefit with having someone who has a similar, you know, basically the same job as you, because they can relate to basically what you're dealing with and what you experience and stuff like that. But at the same time, it could also be kind of negative. Like I said, some people prefer to have different careers because then that person might be like, okay, like I kind of deal with that stuff too, like, you know.
And have you ever seen people who just can't deal with it anymore mentally and just switch careers? Or
yeah, like
I figured.
Yeah, there's some people who just, you know, and some people do it for a month and they're like, I can't do it.
I wouldn't expect that. I thought maybe like a year.
I've seen,
if you didn't have that escape, you could still do it, like the therapist and your girl and all that.
Or is it just like in the back of your head, like you still got that thought of your uncle just still like pushing you to like you want to do more, like help more?
A little bit of that.
Yeah.
A little bit of that is kind of one of my motivators to kind of keep going. If I didn't have my resources, I honestly don't know what I would do. It'd be a different ballgame, huh? It would be a different ballgame. Like if therapy didn't exist at all, it would be a different ballgame. But I mean, besides the therapy, our jobs typically a lot of these EMS agencies, they have something called, I forget what the name of the program is, but they have different programs available, sometimes in-house, what we call it, to kind of like so that the providers can talk to people without them having to go look for a therapist and stuff like that. But we have something, at least where I work, we have like critical call debriefings where we can have like a really bad call, and right after the call, when we get back to our station, we talk about like what just happened.
You know, what's like the vibe like after like a crazy call,
or especially after like if y'all have somebody I don't think is gonna make it.
It depends, man.
Y'all just like go in there and is it just quiet?
I mean, it depends. It's like I said, everyone takes it differently. Everyone has different personalities, different limits, you know. So everyone just kind of deals with it in their own way, I guess you could say. But we do have that like debriefing where we can talk about everything that just happened. And it's a closed room debriefing, like
just the people who were on scene.
Just the people who were on that call talk about it. And we don't go get other people. Yeah, because then you run the risk of judgment and critiquing, and you know, it's like
you just want it like private. So it's because you can relate, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you get somebody who wasn't on scene, they can't really relate exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's something that we do immediately after. If it's like a really high, critical, stressful call, then you know our chiefs or our staff, they might bring us in a couple days later on our next shift and be like, hey, like, is everyone good? You know, like, y'all still want to talk about it? You know, is everything okay? Kind of thing, you know.
Does it ever bother you, like, not knowing what happened after you send them off into the hospital?
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that. Do you know what happens? Or?
So that's a big thing, you know, and, like, I have a coworker who is completely switching careers. Well, I wouldn't say completely switching, but she's leaving EMS and she wants to go work in the hospital. She goes, you know, in EMS, we only deal with patients sometimes for 15 minutes, sometimes an hour at the max. And sometimes we never see them again. And we don't even know what happened to them.
Nobody, like, tells you, like, debriefs?
So yeah, I mean, when we go back to the hospital 2, 3, 4 hours later, you know, might swing by. If they're still at the hospital, we'll be like, hey, and we might go in there and check in on the patient. You know, I like to do that. After I turn in my patient, deliver them, and give the report to the nurse, and you know, we clean our stretcher, whatever, I'll go back to that room where I had left the previous patient. I'll be like, hey, how are you doing? You know, how are you feeling? And just kind of ask the nurses and the doctors, you know, did they find anything? What's their treatment plan? So and so. But sometimes whenever we deliver these patients to a different hospital or farther away, or they get life flighted, we don't really know what happens to them until they contact us back. So sometimes you can go, wow.
And has there ever been some incidents where it just sticks with you? Yeah, where you just can never forget about them? I mean, I know you don't have to go into detail. I know you really can't, but just
so I'll be kind of broad. So we have a lot of people like to ask, like, what's the craziest, worst call you've had? And I don't really see it like that. Like, I don't really like that question too much. I kind of like categorize them between, you know, what kind of calls bother me the most, and then what kind of calls I like. Mm-hmm. You know, because I do like going to calls. You know,
yeah, it's not all. Sure. I mean, it's something you love, so you don't want to just be sitting around.
I do like going to calls. Mm-hmm. You know, the calls that I don't really like, and the ones that kind of stick with me, are the ones where we show up and a young person is either deceased or very sick, or there's a family member that is deceased, and the whole family is, you know, emotionally in a disarray.
Or they're
about like children and stuff, like.
Yeah, it could be children, it could be young adults, it could be someone our age. You know, sometimes we go to these scenes as EMS providers, and we're the medical people, the medical experts. You know, we show up and we have to say, hey, this person has been dead for 6 hours. There is nothing we can do for them.
That has to be really hard.
It's rough. It's rough.
And especially when you got everybody there, or like just multiple family members, yes. Or the parents too. That's to be really hard.
And those are the roughest calls when you show up and there's nothing you can do, especially when they're young. It's rough. It sticks with you, and just I think the hardest part is really the family, and trying to talk to them and explain to them what the next steps are.
They train y'all on that, like how to talk to the family?
Yeah, we get trained on how to talk to the family. It's not as like in depth as I wish it would be. It's kind of like
a little brief on it or something.
Yeah,
maybe?
It's kind of like, okay, guys, we're on this chapter. Let's talk about how to talk to the families, and we'll talk about it for like 30 minutes, the whole paramedic program, and then it'll be like, that's it. Next topic.
So when y'all learn about that, and then you're in the field and use it, do you kind of throw your own little touch on it, or you stay straight to like the books?
We try to stay objective.
Yeah,
we try to stay objective. We want to be empathetic, and we want to be empathetic and sympathetic, and have some sympathy, and try to not be so cold.
Sometimes you just have to just be straight up with them and just let them know.
We get trained to say this person is dead. We can't say this person has passed away. Some people be like, what do you mean passed away?
Yeah,
I've seen what do you mean gone to a better place? No, this person is dead.
Since we live in like a smaller county, is there like ever nights where you just no calls?
Yes.
So what do y'all do on those nights?
So
just playing card games in the back and shit?
Nah. So we do a lot of different stuff. Well, let me touch back to what the calls that I do like. Okay. Right. So the calls that I do like, because that's important too, right? Not just what I don't like. Yeah. The calls that I do like is when we show up and someone's very sick or very hurt, and we make a difference. They bounce back. We bounce them back. We give them the medicine, the treatments that we need to. We take them where they need to go, and they bounce back, and it's a positive outcome. Those are the calls that I like.
It always feels good. Like you feel like you.
It's like we made a difference.
Yeah,
we achieved something. I mean, I've seen some crazy things where someone is like on the doorstep of death, and with the training that we do and the treatments that we provide, they bounce back. And then, a month later, when you're getting groceries for the station at HEB, you see them walking down the aisle, and you're like,
oh, that's got to be a crazy feeling.
It's like, holy crap. Like, hi.
And to them, you're like a hero to them. Because they
come up to you, and they're like, oh, my gosh, thank you. I never got your name. And I'm like, it's okay. You were unconscious. Yeah. What was the next stop?
What do y'all do on like dead days?
Oh, so it depends where you work. Some services, they like you to stay busy. Some services like you to just train, basically continue your education kind of thing, do homework if you're in school. Some services let you relax, take a nap.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do y'all sleep there sometimes?
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, at night, I would say at least 90% of the services allow you to sleep at night. Where I work, we do have dorms, and we have bunk beds and stuff that we make a bed, and if we're lucky enough, we get a couple hours of sleep. Take a little nap.
How long are your shifts?
So a lot of different places have different shifts. Where I work, we work 24 hours. We're off for 24 hours. We work 24 hours, and then we're off for 5 days.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it sounds rough, but
it goes by fast, probably.
It depends. Depends how busy it is.
Unless it's a slow day.
Yeah, if it's a slow day,
I can make it busy.
Playing a lot of Uno in the back.
Yeah. Some services work 48 hours. They're off for 4 days. Work 48 hours and off for 4 days, and they do that for.
Well, obviously those are the ones that let you sleep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no way you're just up 2 days straight.
And then you got some Houston services that they're super busy, and they only let you work 12-hour shifts.
Is that kind of like a goal to go to a busier?
So it depends. I've seen some people that they get older and they've been paramedics for 30 years, and they're like, I kind of want to slow it down a little bit. Like, let's go.
Pretty much.
Yeah, let's go work somewhere where it's a little bit chiller. We'll have a little more downtime. And some people call it a vacation station. Yeah. Just kind of take a nap, watch TV, and you get a call like every 6 hours or something every 12 hours.
In our area, like the county area, do you see like more calls than like other types? Like, say, for example, like more suicides or anything like that? Like, what's a high call that y'all get, or just kind of mix of everything, like heart attacks or fentanyl?
It depends. It depends where you work at. Of course, the city's demographics and the neighborhood's demographics, depending on where your station is at, depending on where your agency is located. You start to work in an area where there's a lot of young people. You'll have younger type of complaints. You won't have as many strokes. You won't have as many fall calls. You won't have as many heart attacks. You start going to an area where the population and the majority of its citizens are older you start to have fall calls, and you start to have broken hips, and you start to have strokes and heart attacks.
Well, just like you personally, is there like one call that like kind of like is more reoccurring?
Where I work, we get a lot of fall calls. There's a lot of our in my area where I'm stationed at, we have a lot of elderly population. We get a lot of fall calls, and we get a lot of medical calls. There's basically two big type of calls. You either have medical calls or you have trauma. People love the trauma, the car wrecks, and the gore and the crazy broken bones and everything. You know,
Like
it's exciting.
Experience.
Yeah.
and seeing it's way different.
Yeah, for sure. And then some people really like the medical side. I like the medical side.
I think
I feel like it's a
best.
lot harder. I feel like it's a lot more. You have to know what the heck you're doing, because I mean, you got a broken bone. It's a broken bone. You know, you got someone bleeding out. The blood's supposed to stay in the body. Blood goes round and round. The air goes in and out. So as long as you do those things, they're good, right? When you got a medical person, it's like, oh my gosh, this person has a fever, nausea, right lower quadrant pain, history of this, history of that, and you start looking at their medicines, their medical history, and you try to add up their symptoms, what you see, and their vital signs, and you have to make like a.
It's like you're just in a file cabinet in your head, just like just going.
Yeah,
just
and
trying to
so
think.
for me, that's more interesting. That's more fun. It's like a puzzle.
So when you get a call, you like go through a checklist, like first thing you check, second thing you check.
I guess that's more of like a personal thing. Like, we do, me and my partners, we do like a pre-call kind of like basically we get dispatched, right? Like someone calls 911, the 911 operator will call the EMS service and be like, you have a 72-year-old female complaining of fever. And we're like, well, wow, okay, that could be anything, you know?
Yeah.
So we show up, you know, we're named this, and we'll be like, all right, this person has a fever. What can it be? You know, it could be sepsis. It could be pneumonia. It could be, it could be a cold. COVID. You know, there's a lot of different things that. And so we started talking to each other, kind of bouncing back. I'm like, okay. And depending on who's the lead provider, you know, if I'm with the paramedic, they'll be like, when we get there, I want you to check a blood sugar, check a temperature, check this, check that. And kind of have like, and they're like, you know, if it's this, or this is basically what we're going to do. And if it's this, or this is what we're going to do. You know, kind of like a pre-plan before we get there. But then sometimes we be pre-planning and we get there and it's something completely like it's something completely different.
It's like sometimes like what you hear is like completely different.
Yeah. Oh, and that's like 50% of the time.
Really?
Someone will be like, yeah, complaining of feeling sick, and we get there and they're like bleeding out. It's like, yeah, you're sick. Great.
Do you ever have angry people there too? Like somebody you're trying to help, and you know more knowledge, like when you're helping them and they're trying to tell you, oh, this is wrong, and then they start arguing with you, or not really?
Yeah.
I see it on live rescue a lot.
Yeah,
so
it happens. You know, and there's you have to be patient.
Yeah.
It's a job that requires a lot of patience. We try to get things done. We get trained on how to ask questions and how to kind of keep the patient on topic, and try to get what we call pertinent information, things that are important to basically like what's going on in the treatment plan and stuff like that. But it can be a little frustrating sometimes. But
do y'all see a lot of overdoses, like in young kids, or it could probably like be any range, but y'all see a lot in this area?
How long have you been doing it for?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been doing it for a couple years.
Have you seen like the like grow and like the fentanyl stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I was getting to with the fentanyl.
Yes. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of opioid overdoses,
Especially in this area.
and it's all over the country. Honestly, here in
You
Brazil.
personally witnessed it like get worse and worse.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen where we get, like I said, I work 2 shifts a week where we'll get like, one call a shift for a possible overdose. I was like, okay, we'll go take care of it. And then, now it's to the point where it's all like, we're getting 2, 3, 4 calls a shift, possible overdose, where we get like 5 or 6 overdoses a week to now it's like 20 to 40 overdoses a week.
Holy
Is it usually
shit.
like younger people?
Yeah, like what's the age range, kind of like a...
It depends. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know what they're taking. They're like, oh yeah, I popped a perk. I was like, that was not perk.
That's straight fentanyl.
Yeah, straight fentanyl. It looks like a pressed pill, bro. Yeah. But
because for me, I feel like this is a big thing for me for fentanyl, because it hits home a lot for me, which we've had that conversation about that and stuff, about the whole issues and stuff.
yeah, it's definitely growing. And I mean, like I said, we do training on it. We know what to look for. We know what the signs and symptoms are. We know the history that we're supposed to obtain, and we treat it. And a lot of the times, we try to. Most of the time, we get a positive outcome. We give the antidote, right, which we all know now is called Narcan, naloxone, and we get a positive outcome. Sometimes, unfortunately, someone might have just taken way too much, and they caught us way too late. You know,
and you have to be like super cautious at the same time to protect yourself.
So
I know fentanyl is really bad. Where I guess you can be around it to where it can affect you if you don't even take it.
Yeah. So honestly, it's kind of. I feel like it's a little bit of lack of education on how it works. A lot of the fentanyl that gets pressed in pills, it's absorbed through your GI tract and it's not absorbed through your skin. You'll see posts and stuff on Facebook or people being like, "Oh, I touched fentanyl and it absorbed into my skin." I can grab. And we use fentanyl on the ambulance. It's a very good drug.
If used correctly.
If used correctly.
Yeah.
If properly dosed and used appropriately, it is a hell of a drug.
Wait, so what would you use it for medically? Like, what is it?
Pain.
Yeah,
great pain medication.
I just had a family member actually who they were using it on the hospital because I was there and they were like, yeah, we're gonna have to use fentanyl, and I was like, fentanyl to me.
So many people get scared.
Yeah, and then because I had the other incident with
yeah.
I had the other incident with the other family thing I'll tell you about, and I'm like, what the fentanyl? Like,
yeah, no, you'll be super. It's super. Honestly, it's crazy. It's like I said, it's a lack of education. You know, the fentanyl that we use is made in a lab. We dose it. It's properly dosed. You know, we use micrograms is how we measure it, which is 1/1000th of a gram. And sometimes people take pills that contain 5,000 micrograms, and the dose might be like 50 mics.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's crazy. But if used properly, used appropriately, it's a great drug. It treats pain wonderfully.
Is that like the highest painkiller?
Typically on ambulances, yes. It's like fentanyl is kind of thing. We also use ketamine, which is
don't think it's for horses. Is ketamine? I've heard
something like
that.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. It's like a horse tranquilizer or whatever.
That's exactly what I've heard. Yeah, ketamine.
Yeah. It's a dissociative drug. So
I knew somebody who took ketamine. They were like, "Yeah, they use this on horse." I was like, "Okay, you have fun with that."
Yeah, but dosed properly, right, and appropriately, it's a hell of a drug. It works great. It works great for what we need it for.
Do you ever have like reoccurring patients?
All the time. We call them frequent.
Wants their morphine again.
Frequent flyers.
And do y'all ever have people who call the ambulance just because they get addicted to like some type of prescription or medicines?
Unfortunately, yes. And we get trained to kind of like,
notice all those things.
Notice those things. We do keep a history on certain patients. Now, obviously, if a patient is in pain, we're not gonna refuse treating them, right? Yeah. We're not here to be like, you get fentanyl, you don't get fentanyl. You know, we're gonna treat the patient.
Okay.
You know, this patient is in actual pain. I don't know. I'm not the patient, but I'm gonna treat their pain.
So right? Is it a lot easier for like someone to like just be, I got a pain, and they're pretty much.
If you're sitting there and you're telling me I got a pain, and then you're like.
Yeah.
On your phone, you know, chilling.
You can tell they're lying.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say they're lying, but it's gonna decrease my, my expectation of how much pain they're really in. Now, if their heart rate's super high, their blood pressure's high, they're grimacing, they're sweaty, they're clutching, they're in a lot of pain, they're guarding. It's like, yeah, this person's in pain. Like, we need to treat that pain. If someone's just like, oh yeah. My leg hurts, and then they're walking to you.
They're like, my leg.
Yeah.
Like from
we're gonna treat their pain. And fentanyl's not the only pain medication we keep. We have a lot of other ones.
I keep like regular like ibuprofen and like aspirin.
Yeah. We have ibuprofen, aspirin, Tylenol, Toradol.
What do y'all use? What would you need ibuprofen for? Like, take it to the store, get
fever,
it.
inflammation.
Oh, okay. Is it different than like over-the-counter ones, or not really?
So some of the medications we carry are like prescription-only medications, and some of them are over-the-counter medications. Like Tylenol's over-the-counter, ibuprofen, but we have something called Toradol, which is basically ibuprofen times 10. It's just a really strong NSAID that works great for like swelling, any kind of musculoskeletal injuries or like kidney stones, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I think my dad takes that.
Yeah, Toradol.
Yeah,
That's a great drug.
yeah.
Has there ever been a time where like you really wanted a patient to go to the hospital, but they were just kind of too hard headed to
All the
to go?
time, man.
But has never like
high risk
ended
refusals.
up bad? Where,
Yes.
they didn't.
Yes, high risk refusals. But we will not kidnap someone. You know, we're not going to kidnap someone. We have a checklist. We have a checklist that they have to meet all the criteria, and we will sit there, especially if this person is very sick. We will sit there and basically beg them to go to the hospital with us because, and there is people that are hard headed, but at the same time, we're not going to kidnap someone.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone has rights. If they are 100% there in the head, right? They're not suicidal. They meet all of our criteria. They can make judgment. They understand their illness or injury, and they 100% do not want to go because they just do not want to go. That's their right. You know, you have the right. We're not going to kidnap people. I've heard. I mean, horror stories where people just get kidnapped. You know, by ambulances. The cops like, you're gonna go. You know, we don't do that.
Yeah, and I didn't know that until I had asked you for your opinion because remember I had the family member who kept having the overdoses and
And
we were like our family's there and it's like take him to the hospital. Like the dude had 8 overdoses already. Like
yeah,
take him.
But if he decides
Yeah.
not to go, then
They
we
can't
can't
go,
kidnap
yeah.
him. We can't force him to.
and it's crazy. I added all those like 8 times. He went one time and he got out like within an hour. And it's just like, and then even with their over 18 too, it's like I didn't know. I thought maybe you could get them help, but they had to choose to get the help.
They have to choose to get the help. Yeah, it's we face that a lot.
It's gotta be a shitty feeling.
Oh, it sucks. It sucks. You know, especially when you're sitting there on scene. I mean, we're even calling our medical director, talking to the doctor, explaining him. We're letting the doctor talk to the patient, and the doctor's telling the patient, you know, essentially, not in these words, but they'll be like, "You will die if you do not go to the hospital." And the patient will be like, "I don't give a fuck.
Man.
I'm staying here."
And
Like,
sometimes can that happen? Like say fentanyl or like an overdose, and then like when you use Narcan, they're back to normal, perfectly fine.
they refuse. And
Can later on they just still die from something that happened, or once they use the Narcan, they're good. They're good.
It depends. I know that the half-life of Narcan is a lot less than the half-life of fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you take an overdose of fentanyl, I Narcan you, you sign a refusal. That Narcan has a high likelihood of wearing off before the fentanyl wears off, and now the Narcan wears off, and now the fentanyl's hitting again, and then you have the
Also,
same.
after you give someone Narcan, they can still get high after.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what happened in one of the
I
instances
thought you
because
completely reversed it.
No.
one of the
Well, it will for a second, but then, like I said, it has a half-life, and then it'll basically wear out. The Narcan will
So
wear
if they're
out.
like just early into their high, it can come back.
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Yeah. Or if it's like super strong.
Yeah.
see in one of the instances that we were talking about, that's what happened. They gave him the Narcan.
Yeah.
Cops and everybody argued with them, and they were like, "I'm not going." And then, boom, they end up laying down, and they start like just dozing off, but like choking, and they end up like laying them over and stuff. Again, they wouldn't go, and they just kind of had to keep watching them or just get Narcan because I didn't know you could get that too. Like,
Yeah, you can buy it at
Yeah.
Walgreens.
yeah, it's
Really?
I've
I never
heard
use it.
Like-
A lot of the popular one is a spray.
that's the one that goes in your nose, right?
Yeah, it goes in your nose. You spray it. It's a mucosal atomizer device. Makes the liquid into these small like mist. You know, and it absorbs into your blood.
And whoever made that probably makes a lot of money off that.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm assuming so.
Or even if they don't, I mean, they saved a lot of like people's
Oh yeah,
lives.
they're
Probably.
saving lots of lives with that medication.
What is one of the most important lessons you've learned through your years of doing this?
Live in the moment and appreciate the moment. You never know. It sounds so cliche, but you really don't never know what's waiting for you around the corner tomorrow or in the next 10 minutes.
And with you learning all this stuff, like all this medical stuff, does it help you a lot when you get sick? Like, say you're sick, you kind of can
Honestly,
diagnose
bro,
or self.
it makes it worse. because
you're, like, freaking
because
out.
I'll be like, man, my stomach hurts. I'm like, oh my god,
Cancer.
appendicitis, cancer. Am I bleeding out? You know, and
You're like-
so,
you're going through, like, a checklist of
Yeah, I
things?
go through like a checklist in my
That
head.
kind of be a shitty way to live.
It sucks. You know, you get anxiety. But then you have like the other side, and they're like, you're fine. You know,
Yeah.
like you're fine. It does make it harder to go to the ER, but it does make me kind of like overthink. Like,
But I feel like
simple things.
Whenever you're at a doctor, son, you can relate so easy because they be using all these big words. Like, say I go to the doctor.
Yeah,
and I'm
that's like important thing. If you ever want to be like an EMT or whatever, like I think, or like a paramedic or whatever, some like important steps is get your education. One thing that I would recommend is take a medical terminology class before you do your EMT.
So you know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah. So you have an idea.
Yeah, there's been a couple times where I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about right now?
I'll go to my doctor appointments and I'll be like, they're like, what's your medical history? And I'm like, I have hypertension, hypercholesteremia, anxiety, and I'll start using all these like big words. Like,
he's like, oh, this guy's good.
Yeah, they'll be like,
and then there's just like
a
regular citizen sitting there like, what? You were looking on Google?
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. My shoulder just hurts, bro.
Sometimes that's all it is, shoulder pain. But yeah, I would recommend taking a medical terminology class, and not skipping a step, because you can go from EMT to paramedic. And like I said, right now I'm an advanced EMT, so I'm kind of in the middle. And I would recommend not skipping that step, because you could go from EMT to paramedic. But I'm doing EMT, advanced EMT, then paramedic. So I would recommend taking the advanced EMT class.
And you brought some tools. I kind of want to see what you got.
So these are a couple of my favorite kind of gear or tools that I carry with me on my person whenever I'm at work. My handy dandy stethoscope.
Can I see it? Yeah.
So
if you put these like in your ears and like I yell into this or something, does it actually hurt your ears?
No.
I see it in movies.
It has to be. You have to make contact with skin. I'll show you how to.
So if I like slap it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That'll like explode my eardrums. No. And then I have these what we call Raptor shears. Pretty popular in the market. Essentially, these are just to cut clothes off or to cut seat belts or ropes.
Cut clothes off to use in the bedroom.
I do not use them. My girlfriend will not let me use them in the bedroom. These are for patients only.
He's definitely tried a couple times.
These are for patients, and they get cleaned after every patient. But yeah, it has like a seatbelt cutter, has a window puncher, has a little belt clip. They're really strong. I like using them. What's crazy is I was telling Tim earlier.
I think I'm dead.
I'm alive, but I'm dead.
I'm alive, but I'm dead. I think I'm doing this wrong.
You might be. Well, first of all, they're facing the wrong way. They go the other way. Then they're supposed to point forward because your ears are actually pointing forward. There you go.
First of all, you got it the wrong way.
You can tap with your finger on both sides. Which side?
This side?
Tap on this side.
Oh, shit.
There you go. So you're right. You had it the wrong way.
Oh, what? I'm alive.
There you go. Good.
I'm alive.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're dead, bro.
Fantastic. No, but I was at EMS conference a couple months ago, and I had this. I went to a class because I have classes and stuff, and this surgeon, he is like a EMS doctor, and he's also a surgeon, and he rides on the ambulance and stuff. And he says that he was like, yeah, I use Raptors too, guys. He was like, they're good at cutting tendons and little bones and skin and stuff. Because where he works, they do like in-field amputations. So like if someone's stuck, like pinned between a tractor, like their arm's stuck in a tractor and like they're bleeding out, he will cut their arm off and stuff like that. He was like, yeah, they're good at cutting skin. And I was like, yeah, I'm not using it for that. That's insane. But yeah,
damn, those things can cut through all that?
Yeah, great tools. I don't know if you'll check those out.
I feel like this is like show and tell. This is cool. You like have like a brown paper bag and you're just showing everything.
Yeah, stethoscope, so you can listen to.
Up to 5 centimeters, perfect for you.
There you go.
For sure. You can try these out if you want to.
You got so we listen to lung sounds, we listen to heart sounds, we listen to GI sound. I will murder you.
He's okay. He's gonna need help. Mouth to. Oh, never mind.
Whoa.
So
come here. We're gonna demonstrate how to use these. Come here, buddy.
Relax, bud. I have one more question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Is there beef in the first responder industry?
Oh yeah, like with other surrounding ones.
Unfortunately,
y'all be like throwing y'all setup and shit.
Unfortunately, yes.
There is really.
And this is one thing that I really despise is all the beef. Like,
Sorry,
I really don't
sorry
stand
to
for
stop
it.
you right there,
Go
but
ahead, bro.
all in all, I think y'all's is probably way better than all the other surrounding ones.
I
think.
appreciate you, Tim. I'm not boastful. I am not boastful. I'm not, but I despise the beef that kind of happens. I don't think, in my eyes, I don't think anyone's better than anyone, right?
But fuck
I don't think the
firefighters,
place. I don't think the place where you work defines you. I think that I understand the competitiveness on trying to be like the best service, whatever, but I've always been against looking down on other services. They might just not have the same resources you have. Some services are broke, some services are not broke, some have endless money, some are non-for-profit. I do not stand against criticizing other services. I have received a lot of criticism for where I work. Unfortunately, they're like, "Oh, you guys are stuck up, this and that," and I'm like, "I'm really not though. Like, we do what we do, and we try to do what's best. And I hate when other services are like, oh, this, that, But it is a thing.
Yeah,
That's your
it's
question.
like, damn, you have like rap beef over here, almost like you're like
It's
Drake and
bad.
Kendrick.
It's bad. I mean, if we could all work together towards the same goal, and our goal is providing excellent patient care, then dude, like, let's work together. But everyone wants to be their own team. Everyone wants to be their own thing, and it's like, dude, okay, like, I know y'all, like, we're just learning about EMS today, but, like, for example, in Southern Missouri County, what if there was one critical care paramedic, right, which is, like, a whole different, that's, like, life flight, critical care, and there's a critical care person in, like, basically a cop car, right, like a really fast, like a Charger or something, and they're listening to the radio, Hellcat, whatever you can imagine, right, something fast, something with lights, and they have all the stuff, like ultrasound, blood products, chest tubes. They can do these high skilled level interventions, like giving blood to people, and they're not working for a specific agency, right? They're not working for this town or that town. They're working for the whole Southern Missouri County, and they can go, they listen to the radio and they're like, oh, there's this person bleeding out from a gunshot, and they automatically go over there and provide blood to that patient before they get to the hospital. That could make a difference. But we can't do that with all the services beefing against each other. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, bro, let's all work together. Let's be collective, But hopefully that change comes soon, where we can all actually appreciate each other, see our weaknesses, see our strengths, and work together to, achieve something better. Because at the end of the day, what's important is the patient care and the patient outcomes. You
wouldn't think it's because, like, I mean, y'all all do something y'all all like. Y'all do the same thing.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, bro, we're all the same, low key. None of us are actually better than others. Even though we want to be competitive, it's like, yeah, our scene time is better or our protocols are better. Like, I get that. Everyone's competitive. Everyone wants to be the best.
Everybody has their own ways, too.
Everyone has their own culture, their own ways of doing things. But I don't think we should, like, put each other down.
Yeah.
We're all going through it. Let's go through it together.
Eli, you sound like a good guy, man. I appreciate you for coming on the pod, man.
Absolutely.
Great episode.
Man, appreciate you. Appreciate you for spending your time here, and I know you probably got other things to do, so appreciate it, man.
Hey, happy EMS week.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Shout out to all the first responders. Y'all follow us on IG at Open Minded Films.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to be doing some money giveaways soon, so make sure you join those.
Just give me my money. That's the wraps.
For sure.
Oh my God, I had to piss for